The poor maid who was thrown out of the house stood at the gate with her torn bag, and nowhere to go, but fate was already driving toward her because in minutes, she would cross paths with the billionaire president's son. And that single moment would change her life forever. Her name was Lena, a housemaid accused of a crime she didn't commit, slapped, disgraced, and pushed onto the streets like trash, but she carried something on her neck, a small silver necklace that no one knew held a secret powerful enough to shake a presidential family. Inside a luxury car, Ethan Sterling, the billionaire son of the president, was escaping his guarded life, pretending to be ordinary, but destiny had marked him for a collision that would rewrite both their futures. A poor maid, a billionaire president's son, one accidental meeting. But why did his eyes freeze the moment he saw her necklace? But what secret was her dying mother hiding? But why would the president's family panic when they learn who she truly is? And what exactly will happen when a maid thrown out meets the billionaire president's son? Because this meeting was never an accident, Lena stood frozen at the towering iron gate of the Caldwell mansion, her small bag slipping from her fingers. The bag hit the ground softly, as if even it was tired of carrying her broken hopes. Behind her, the gate slammed shut with a final metallic clang. "Don't you ever come back here," Mrs. Caldwell shouted from the marble balcony above. Her diamond bracelets glittered under the sun, mocking Lena's poverty. "Thief, I should have you arrested." Lena slowly turned around. Her cheek was still burning from the slap. "I swear, madam, I didn't take anything," she said, her voice trembling. Mrs. Caldwell laughed cruelly. "Of course you didn't. Poor people never steal, right?" A security guard stood by the door, eyes glued to the ground. Earlier that morning, he had seen the missing necklace fall from Mrs. Caldwell's daughter's purse. He had seen Lena kneel and beg, but he stayed silent. Rich people pay better than truth ever could. Lena bent to pick up her bag. "Please, just let me explain," she whispered. "Explain what?" Mrs. Caldwell snapped. "That your kind is born to steal." The words stabbed deeper than the slap. As Lena walked down the long driveway, her footsteps echoed like a funeral march. The mansion behind her stood tall and arrogant, surrounded by gardens she once cleaned at dawn. She remembered scrubbing those marble floors with bleeding hands, whispering prayers that her life would change someday. Flashback. 3 years earlier, Lena had arrived barefoot, wearing a torn dress. "Can you cook?" Mrs. Caldwell had asked. "Yes, ma'am." "Can you clean?" "Yes, ma'am." "Good. You start now. No contract. No salary negotiation." Hunger had already signed everything for her, back to present. Her stomach growled painfully. She hadn't eaten since yesterday. She touched the silver necklace around her neck, rubbing the pendant like a lucky charm. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. Flashback. "Mama, where is my father?" Young Lena had asked. Her mother had gone silent. "He is powerful," she whispered, coughing. "Promise me you'll never look for him." "Why?" "Because powerful men destroy what they touch." Her mother had pressed the necklace into her hand. "If anything happens to me, this will protect you." Back to present. Lena swallowed hard. "You were wrong, Mama," she whispered. "Nothing protected me." She stepped onto the busy road, cars zooming past like she didn't exist. Her phone vibrated. No credit. Just a reminder from the universe that she was alone. Far away, in a black luxury car with tinted windows. Ethan Sterling loosened his tie angrily. "Just drive," he told his driver. "But sir, your father," I said drive. Ethan stared out the window. Another meeting. Another speech. Another life he never asked for. The billionaire president's son wanted one day of freedom. He had no idea that freedom was about to crash into a poor maid with a broken heart. And when it did, nothing would ever be the same again. The traffic on the city road roared past Lena like a warning she couldn't hear. Her bag felt heavier with each step, though it contained the same few belongings: a torn dress, a worn pair of sandals, and the silver necklace her mother had pressed into her hand before she died. She rubbed it again, feeling the cold metal bite into her palm. Something about it always made her heart thrum, not with fear, but with a strange hope she didn't dare trust. A sudden screech of brakes made her jump. A black luxury car swerved, stopping mere inches from where she stood. She stumbled back, bag spilling slightly, heart hammering. The driver's door opened and out stepped a young man in a hoodie and casual sneakers, incongruously normal for someone so obviously wealthy. His eyes were dark, intense, and for a moment, fixed on the necklace around her neck. "You're hurt," he said softly, his voice carrying concern, not judgment. Lena shook her head. "I'm fine." "You're not fine," he said, stepping closer. His hands were steady, not the hands of someone used to shouting orders but of someone who had seen pain before. "Did someone?" He stopped, watching the faint bruise on her cheek. "No one," Lena whispered, though her voice faltered. He squatted slightly, coming to her level. "My name's Ethan," he said. "I can take you somewhere safe." Her first instinct was to refuse. Strangers rarely helped, and billionaires never touched lives like hers except in tabloids, never in reality. But something in his eyes, the quiet weight behind them, made her hesitate. Flashback. Ethan, at 10, had been given a brand new mansion, servants, a shiny uniform, and endless lessons on diplomacy and politics. His father, the president, had been a figure of awe and fear. Ethan had obeyed, had hidden behind manners, but he remembered the nights when he sat alone in the grand hall, listening to the soft whimpers of his mother, crying behind gilded doors. Power couldn't shield him from loneliness, and money couldn't buy him empathy, at least not the kind that mattered. Back to Lena. She finally nodded. "Okay." But just for a moment. The car's leather seats smelled of expensive leather and polished wood. Lena's fingers instinctively brushed the fabric, as if touching it could remind her she didn't belong here. Ethan didn't speak. He didn't need to. His presence was calm but authoritative, a rare combination that told her he was used to controlling his world yet understood when to yield. Foreshadowing whispered through the moment. His gaze flicked again to her necklace, lingering longer than courtesy demanded. It was as if he recognized it, or at least felt its weight. Though he said nothing. "You," Lena began, hesitating. "You don't look like the kind of person who helps people like me." Ethan gave a small, rueful smile. "You're right. Normally, I wouldn't, but something tells me this isn't normal." Her curiosity battled caution. "Why?" He shrugged lightly. "Maybe I've been trapped in my own world for too long. Maybe I've seen enough injustice to know it's worth stopping, if even for one person." The car pulled away. Engines roared, blending with the city's noise. For Lena, the streets she had walked alone her entire life suddenly felt like a distant memory, because in this moment, in this car, she felt something she hadn't in years. Hope. Micro cliffhanger. The necklace pulsed cold against her chest. Neither of them realized that the chain carried a secret capable of shaking a presidential family, and that secret had already caught Ethan's attention. The car wound through quieter streets, leaving the chaos of the city behind. Lena stayed silent, gripping the silver necklace as if it could anchor her to something real. Ethan glanced at her from the corner of his eye, noting the tension in her shoulders and the weariness etched into her young face. She didn't look at him. She didn't trust the world or anyone in it. "You always walk alone?" he asked softly, breaking the silence. Lena swallowed. "Doesn't everyone?" He chuckled, but it wasn't a full laugh. It was a sound that carried loneliness, the kind of loneliness money couldn't fix. "Not everyone," he said. "I've had everything, but never anyone who truly sees me." Flashback. Ethan, as a child, had sat in his father's office, staring at the shelves lined with gold-plated awards and speeches. His mother had long since left him in the care of governesses and tutors, and he remembered one night sneaking into her room, only to find it empty. The smell of her perfume lingered on the sheets. He had pressed his cheek to the pillow, imagining warmth he would never touch again. Power, wealth, and influence surrounded him, but they couldn't replace family, couldn't fill the hollow ache that no luxury could heal. Back to present. Lena shifted, finally meeting his gaze. "You don't belong here either, do you?" she said, jerking her head toward the mansion-like luxury of the car. Ethan smirked. "You could say that, but I've learned to move between worlds without letting either truly touch me." The car slowed near a quiet cafe tucked in a side street. "Here," he said. "Eat. Don't worry about money. Consider it a peace offering." Lena hesitated. She had survived years with nothing, and now someone offered her food without question. Suspicion gnawed at her. "Why?" "Because I've seen injustice," he said quietly. "And it sticks with you. You look like someone who's had too much of it today." She glanced at him, noting the way his hand rested casually on the door handle. There was something different about him, something genuine. It unsettled her. Foreshadowing. His eyes flickered to the silver necklace again, catching the sunlight. A micro-expression crossed his face, almost recognition, almost shock, but it disappeared as quickly as it came. He didn't ask about it, but there between them held an unspoken question. Why did she carry it? And why did it seem to matter? Inside the cafe, Lena devoured the food. She hadn't eaten properly in days. Ethan watched quietly, drinking black coffee, his eyes never leaving her face. "You shouldn't have to eat like that," he said finally, leaning back. "I've eaten worse," she replied, her voice a mixture of pride and bitterness. The beat passed. Then he asked, almost casually, "Have you ever wondered why some people are born to suffer while others are given everything?" Lena froze, chewing. "All the time," she admitted. "I used to wonder the same," he said, "until I realized it's not about who you are born to, but what you do when the world refuses to give you anything." Cliffhanger. Her necklace pulsed slightly against her chest. Neither of them noticed it, but it was a signal, something her mother had whispered about, a secret that had survived years of hunger, abuse, and loneliness. It was a key, and Ethan had already sensed its weight without understanding why. Lena swallowed hard. "Who are you really?" she asked, her voice small. He leaned forward, his eyes serious. "Just someone who saw a broken world and decided to step in." Sometimes, the words hung between them, carrying unspoken questions. Why her? Why now? And what would happen when the world finally revealed who she truly was? The cafe smelled of freshly baked bread and strong coffee, but Lena barely noticed. She was aware of every shadow, every movement, every glance from patrons. Survival had taught her to read people, to notice the subtle signs that something was off. And yet, Ethan Sterling, billionaire, president's son, stranger, made her feel oddly safe. That unsettled her more than anything. "You're staring at that necklace again," Lena said, her voice sharp but curious. Touching the silver chain instinctively, Ethan looked down quickly, masking his reaction. "I just noticed it," he said. "It's unusual, beautiful, in a way that feels important." "Important?" Lena's eyes narrowed. "It's just a necklace my mother gave me before she died." Her voice softened. "It's all I have left of her." Flashback. Her mother's coughing filled the tiny apartment years ago. Lena had pressed her cheek to her mother's chest, trying to memorize the warmth. "Promise me you'll wear this always," her mother had whispered, clasping the silver chain around her neck. "It's more than jewelry. It carries what I could not leave behind. Never take it off." Her mother had smiled weakly, hiding the fear in her eyes. "One day, you'll understand why it matters so much." Back to present. Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying her without speaking. He was quiet, deliberate, the kind of person who measured words before speaking because words carried power. He had grown up surrounded by wealth, luxury, and influence, but it had never taught him empathy until now. Looking at this young woman whose life had been marked by poverty, injustice, and humiliation. "So, you just wander then?" he asked after a moment. "I survive," Lena said, shrugging. "I've been accused of things I didn't do. I've been slapped, ignored, thrown out. I've slept on streets, in churches. I've learned to take what I can, when I can." Ethan's jaw tightened. He recognized the same fire he had buried in himself years ago, the survival instinct, the quiet resilience. "And yet," he said slowly, "you still carry hope." Lena blinked. "Hope doesn't feed you, it just keeps you from giving up entirely." Foreshadowing threaded through the moment. Ethan's eyes lingered on her necklace again, a subtle shift in his expression betraying something he didn't yet understand. He had a memory buried deep in his mind, a vague image of a woman, his mother, her face pale, her hands shaking, holding a necklace just like that one. Could it be? No. Impossible. Outside, the home of the city continued, but the space between them was heavy with unspoken questions. "Why did your mother give this to you?" Ethan asked softly, careful not to push. "She said it was a protection," Lena said, tracing the chain. "That one day it would help me. Or maybe someone would recognize it. I don't know." She never explained fully. Ethan studied her for a long moment, thinking about the corridors of power he had been raised in. Nothing there had prepared him for this, someone whose life had been broken, whose world had been stripped away, yet who still held something sacred, something powerful. Without even realizing it, a silence fell, but it wasn't empty. It carried weight, history, and secrets waiting to be revealed. Then Lena asked, almost casually, "Who are you really, Ethan? Are you really just a rich man pretending to be normal?" Ethan hesitated, a shadow crossing his face. "Not pretending," he said quietly, "just tired of being seen only as a son, only as an heir. Today, I wanted to see the world as it is. And maybe, just maybe, help someone who needs it." Micro cliffhanger. The necklace glimmered in the sunlight streaming through the cafe window, and Ethan's mind raced. He didn't yet know why, but he had a sense this meeting wasn't coincidence. The chain, the girl, the pain in her eyes, they were pieces of a puzzle he had yet to understand. And when the pieces came together, everything he knew about his family, his father, and the world would be challenged. The cafe's warmth contrasted sharply with the cold reality Lena had lived in for years. She stared down at the plate in front of her, but the food barely registered. The silver necklace rested against her chest like a heartbeat she could feel through her ribs. Every so often, Ethan's gaze drifted toward it, and Lena felt a prick of unease. Why did a stranger care about this simple chain so much? "You shouldn't have to eat like that," Ethan said, breaking her reverie. His voice was soft, almost gentle, yet carried a weight that made her pause. "I've eaten worse," Lena replied, shrugging. She pushed the plate slightly away. "Besides, I survive. That's all there is to it." Ethan leaned back, his dark eyes narrowing slightly as he observed her. He could see the hardness behind her eyes, the armor she had built to protect herself, but he also saw something softer underneath, a spark of hope. The kind only someone who had suffered deeply could carry. Flashback. Ethan had grown up in opulence, with teachers and tutors shaping him into the perfect heir. But he remembered the night he had sneaked into his mother's room, only to find it empty. The smell of perfume lingered, and he pressed his cheek to the pillow, wishing for warmth, for love, for a life untouched by the constant weight of expectations. He had been powerful in the eyes of the world, but powerless in the one place that mattered most, his heart. Back to present. "You know," he said after a long pause, "I've always believed that who we are isn't defined by what we have, but by what we endure. And what you've endured. It's remarkable." Lena looked up, startled by the sincerity in his tone. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because," he said slowly, "I see something in you. Something the world has tried to crush but hasn't. You're strong. More than you realize." Foreshadowing. Her fingers touched the necklace again, and Ethan's gaze flickered down and spoke in recognition that neither fully understood yet. There was a connection here, deeper than chance, threaded through with history and secrets waiting to be revealed. "Do you ever wonder," he continued, "why some people are born into hardship while others are given everything?" "All the time," Lena admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It isn't fair. People are punished for nothing, while others get everything handed to them." Ethan nodded. "I used to think the same, until I realized the world doesn't give, it just tests. And sometimes, it places people exactly where they need to be to change everything." Lena frowned, unsure what he meant. But a part of her felt it, the strange pull of destiny she had ignored for so long. The car ride earlier, the chance meeting, the safety he offered, all of it suddenly felt like more than coincidence. And deep down, she wondered, why her? Why now? And what did this man, this son of a president, see in her that no one else had? "Eat," Ethan said finally, gesturing to the plate. "Then we'll figure out the next step. You don't have to do this alone anymore." Lena hesitated, torn between instinct and trust. Finally, she nodded, taking a small bite. For the first time in days, she felt not quite alone. Micro cliffhanger. The silver necklace gleamed in the sunlight, and Ethan's mind raced. He didn't understand it yet, but the chain was more than jewelry, it was a key. And the moment he had glimpsed it, something ancient and hidden had awakened, setting into motion a series of events that would shake not only Lena's life, but the powerful family she had never imagined she belonged to. The sun had dipped lower, painting the cafe windows with gold, but Lena barely noticed. She stared into her cup, swirling the last of the lukewarm coffee, her fingers brushing the silver necklace that had become her talisman. Every moment with Ethan made her heart thrum in a way that was both thrilling and terrifying. She had survived years of being ignored, slept, and abandoned. Trust was dangerous. "You know," Ethan said softly, Watching her from across the table, life has a funny way of placing people exactly where they need to be, even if they don't see it yet. Lena snorted bitterly. You mean like being thrown out of a mansion, starving, and then randomly meeting a billionaire who wants to save me? Ethan smiled, a faint twitch that didn't reach his eyes. Exactly. But sometimes, it's not about saving, it's about noticing. Seeing what everyone else overlooks. Double quotes flashback. Ethan remembered being 10, standing in a grand hall surrounded by servants and luxury, yet utterly invisible. His father, the president, focused only on appearances, on speeches, on the next big deal. His mother had long since retreated behind curtains of etiquette and sorrow. Even in all that wealth, Ethan had felt powerless and seen, misunderstood. Only moments when he witnessed quiet suffering like a maid tripping over her apron or a janitor exhausted at midnight had made him feel alive. Back to present. You notice a lot, don't you? Lena asked, her curiosity piqued despite herself. I do, Ethan admitted. It's a flaw. Or maybe a gift. He glanced at her necklace again. His pulse quickened, a flicker of recognition he couldn't explain. Something about it, the way it caught the light, triggered a memory too faint to name but too strong to ignore. Foreshadowing layered through the moment. The necklace wasn't just a piece of metal, it was a link to the very family Ethan had been raised to serve and protect. A link that had been lost, hidden, almost destroyed, and yet here it was, gleaming against the chest of a girl he had just met. Why do you care so much? Lena asked quietly, her eyes searching his. Because, Ethan said carefully, I know what it's like to be overlooked, to feel invisible, and because I have a feeling that you're not who everyone thinks you are. Lena froze. What do you mean? Nothing yet, he replied. Just something about you feels important, like a story waiting to be told. Dialogue paused, and the cafe seemed to shrink around them. Every clink of a cup, every footstep outside, carried weight. The silence was pregnant with tension. Flashback. Lena remembered her mother's whispered warnings. One day, someone will recognize this, she had said, pressing the silver necklace into her daughter's small hand. And when they do, your life will change, forever. But be careful, powerful people will notice too. And they are not always kind. Back to present, Ethan's mind raced. He couldn't yet piece it together, but he knew that the necklace, the girl, and the strange pull he felt toward her were connected. Somewhere, buried in the labyrinth of his father's presidency, there was a secret one that had the power to topple alliances, destroy reputations, and rewrite lives. And that secret was tied to Lena. Micro-cliffhanger. Double quotes. Eat, Lena, he said gently, interrupting her spiraling thoughts. We have time to figure out the rest. If we survive the next hour. She raised an eyebrow. The next hour? Why? Ethan gave a fleeting, serious look. Because sometimes, the world has a way of testing you the moment you least expect it. The necklace pulsed lightly under her fingers, as if acknowledging the truth of his words. And for the first time, Lena wondered, had fate really placed her here by accident? Or had it been orchestrated long before she even existed? The cafe had begun to empty, leaving only the low hum of the espresso machine and the faint chatter of late customers. Lena's stomach was full for the first time in days, but her mind was racing. There was something about Ethan's sterling calm, observant, and yet not entirely ordinary that unnerved her. The way he had looked at her necklace earlier lingered in her mind like a puzzle she couldn't solve. You're quiet, Ethan said, breaking the tension. Do you usually keep your thoughts locked inside? Lena shrugged, keeping her eyes on the cup in front of her. I've learned that talking too much gets you in trouble. People don't listen to poor girls like me. They only notice when you make a mistake. Ethan's expression softened. I used to feel the same. Being overlooked, ignored, it teaches you things. You notice things no one else does. Flashback. Ethan at 16, attending a political gala with his father, surrounded by flashing cameras, opulent gowns, and men in tailored suits. He watched a janitor quietly fixing a spilled drink without a word. The world celebrated wealth and power, but it ignored the quiet acts that kept the world running. That night, he realized that true influence wasn't in title or money, it was in the ability to recognize value. Others dismissed. Back to present. Why do you care so much about me? Lena asked suddenly, her voice breaking slightly. I'm just a maid, Ethan hesitated, then leaned closer, lowering his voice. You're not just a maid. You're someone the world has overlooked for far too long. And I think there's more to your story than even you realize. Foreshadowing, the silver necklace pulsed faintly under the cafe light, catching both their attention. Ethan's pulse quickened. Though he tried to remain composed, it was a small, almost imperceptible detail, but it felt significant, as if the universe was nudging him toward a revelation he wasn't ready for. Lena tilted her head, studying him. You sound like you've seen too much for your age. He smiled faintly, shadows flickering across his face. Maybe, or maybe I've seen too little. But I know when something important is in front of me. And right now, you are. The silence fell, heavy and deliberate. Lena felt her chest tighten. There was an unspoken connection between them, fragile and mysterious, and it scared her. Flashback. Lena at 10, watching her mother's labored breathing. If anything happens to me, this necklace will protect you, her mother had whispered. It will lead you to someone who can change your life, but only if you survive first. Back to present. Someone who can change my life, Lena whispered, touching the chain. A shiver ran through her. Why? Why does that feel like now? Ethan's gaze softened, almost wistful. Because sometimes, the world waits for the right person to notice you. And sometimes, it waits for the right moment. That moment might be right now. Micro cliffhanger. Neither of them noticed the shadow that fell across the cafe window, a sleek black car parked nearby, tinted glass reflecting the streetlights. The world outside had already started noticing her, the same world that could either elevate her or destroy her before she understood what was happening. The evening sky had darkened, leaving a soft amber glow through the cafe windows. Lena's mind was tangled with 1,000 questions she couldn't voice. Every word Ethan said seemed to carry weight beyond understanding. And the quiet intensity of his gaze kept her on edge. She kept touching the silver necklace, almost instinctively, as if it anchored her to reality. You're thinking too much, Ethan said gently, noticing her fidgeting hands. You've been through enough today to need a break. Lena glanced up, eyes wary. Breaks are for people who have safety nets. I don't have any of those. Flashback. Years ago, Lena had watched neighbors' children play in their yards while she carried water from the communal tap. Her mother coughing inside their small apartment. Safety nets were stories she read in books, a luxury she had never experienced. And yet, her mother's final words had planted a seed: survive, trust only when necessary, and protect what matters most. Back to present, Ethan nodded, understanding the weight of her life without needing her to explain. Then let me be your temporary net, he said quietly, just for tonight. Lena's eyes flicked toward him, suspicion and curiosity warring inside her. Why me? Why not? He replied, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. I've spent my life surrounded by people who see what they want to see. But I noticed you. And once you notice, it's hard to look away. Foreshadowing threaded subtly through his words. Ethan's gaze lingered again on her necklace. Something about it stirred recognition deep within him, faint, almost imperceptible but significant enough to make him uneasy. He had a feeling this chain wasn't just jewelry. It was a key. Though he couldn't yet explain why, the busker's song floated through the open cafe door. Melancholic and raw. Lena's lips twitched at the familiar melody. Music had been one of the few comforts of her childhood, a fleeting reminder of her mother's laughter before illness stole her away. Your mother, Ethan began carefully. She gave you that necklace for a reason. Didn't she? Lena's hand tightened on it. Yes, she whispered. She said one day it would lead me to someone who could change my life. But I didn't understand what she meant. Ethan leaned back, processing. And now, it seems, fate has a plan, he said softly. Flashback. Ethan remembered a conversation with his father, the president, years ago. Power, his father had said, is about controlling outcomes, not chance. Ethan had frowned then, realizing that the world his father built was cold, unyielding, and merciless. Yet here, sitting across from Lena, he felt something entirely different, something unplanned, unpredictable, and terrifying in its potential. Back to present. Lena swallowed. Why does it feel like something big is about to happen? Micro cliffhanger. Before Ethan could answer, a black SUV rolled slowly past the cafe window, its tinted glass reflecting the dim streetlights. Lena's eyes caught the motion, heart skipping. Something in its deliberate presence screamed danger, watchers, observers. Someone with power enough to disrupt everything. And suddenly, she realized, this meeting, this moment, was far from accidental. Ethan noticed her glance, his jaw tightening imperceptibly. "We're not alone," he said quietly, voice low. The necklace pulsed lightly against Lena's chest, as if acknowledging the truth of his words. And in that pulse lay a promise. Her life was about to change forever. The black SUV lingered across the street, a silent shadow in the amber glow of the cafe lights. Lena's stomach tightened. She gripped the silver necklace, its cold metal pressing into her palm like a warning she could almost feel. Ethan followed her gaze, eyes narrowing. "They're watching," he said quietly, his voice low but controlled. "Not just anyone. People who know. More than they should." Lena's heart thudded. "Know what?" Ethan hesitated, weighing his words. "Not yet, but it involves your necklace, your mother, and, well, everything that connects you to the world you've never been part of." Flashback. Lena's mother, lying weak on the mattress, had pressed the necklace into her daughter's hands. "One day, someone will recognize this," she had whispered. "And when they do, your life will change. But the same people who notice it will also want to control it. Be careful, Lena. Power attracts danger." Back to present. Lena swallowed hard. "Power?" she echoed, disbelief laced with fear. "I'm just a maid. How could anything about me be powerful?" Ethan leaned forward, dark eyes serious. "Power isn't always about wealth or titles. Sometimes it's about secrets hidden so well that even the people around you don't understand their value. And your mother. She hid something very valuable." Foreshadowing thickened the air between them. Ethan's gaze flicked to the necklace again, lingering. Something about its design, the way it caught the light, triggered fragments of memories buried deep, memories he didn't fully understand, yet recognized with gut-level certainty. Lena's lips trembled. "I don't understand. How could a simple necklace—" "Not simple," Ethan interrupted. "It's a symbol, a key, a connection to a world you've never known. And there are people, very powerful people, who would kill to get it." Flashback. Ethan remembered his father, the president, speaking quietly in a meeting room, surrounded by advisors and secret files. "Some things are too dangerous for public knowledge," he had said. "History has consequences. Power has consequences. And certain legacies must be protected at all costs." Back to present. Lena's eyes widened. Her mother's warnings, her years of struggle, the whispers of danger she had long ignored, they all clicked into a horrifying clarity. She wasn't just a poor maid thrown out of a house. She had been carrying a secret all her life. One that could alter powerful families, rewrite legacies, and change the life of the man sitting across from her. Ethan's voice broke through her thoughts. "You'll need help," he said quietly, "to survive what's coming. And I can't walk away. Not now." Cliffhanger. The black SUV's engine hummed softly, a reminder that their world was no longer safe. Lena touched the necklace, feeling its pulse almost alive, almost aware. She looked at Ethan, fear and hope battling in her gaze. "Why me?" she whispered. "Why now?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Because some things find you when you least expect them. And some people are meant to protect them." The necklace gleamed in the fading light, signaling that the next hour would be the first step in a journey that neither of them could turn back from. And somewhere in the shadows, the world had begun to stir, ready to strike. The streets outside had grown quiet, the city lights casting long shadows that stretched like fingers across the pavement. Lena's heart raced, every sense alert. The black SUV had disappeared, but its presence lingered like a ghost. Her fingers never left the silver necklace. Its weight was suddenly more than just metal. It was a promise, a warning, a key. Ethan's hand rested lightly on the seat beside her. "We can't go back," he said softly, almost to himself. "Not now. Not ever." Lena swallowed hard. Go back to what?" "Your old life," he said. "The one where people throw you out, ignore you, and call you worthless. That life is over. Lena, your story. It's about to be rewritten." Flashback. Her mother had whispered on her deathbed, coughing and weak. "You will meet someone who sees the truth. But you must survive until then. protect the necklace. It's more than it seems. Lena remembered pressing the chain to her chest, swearing silently that she would survive. She hadn't understood what it meant, but now, with Ethan beside her, pieces of her past seemed to align like constellations finally forming a pattern. Back to present, Ethan started the car, the engine low and steady. "You're stronger than you know," he said, glancing at her. "And this necklace. It's part of a legacy. One your mother understood. One that people with power would kill to control." Lena's eyes widened. "Kill? Not exaggerating," Ethan replied, his voice grave. "The necklace is connected to your family's past. Something so significant that even my father's office has hidden files about it. Your life, Lena, has been protected until now, but the protection is ending." Foreshadowing crystallized into suspense. Lena realized that every hardship, every slap, every day of hunger had been shaping her to survive this moment. Every cruel word from Mrs. Caldwell, every night sleeping on the cold street, it had all been preparation. "Why me?" she whispered, fears welling. "Why would my mother? Why would anyone care about me?" Ethan's gaze softened, almost tenderly. "Because some people are born to inherit more than wealth. You were born to inherit truth, power, and destiny, and to survive the storm that comes with it." Flashback. Ethan remembered walking through the corridors of his father's office as a child, seeing classified files, overhearing whispered conversations about hidden wealth and dangerous legacies. He had always felt that power could corrupt, but now he realized that some power must be protected and some people chosen to carry it. Back to present. Lena gripped the necklace, feeling it pulse faintly against her chest. She took a deep breath. "I don't know if I can do this." "You can," Ethan said firmly, his hand brushing hers briefly. "Because you've already survived everything the world threw at you. And now, I'm with you. Not as a billionaire's son, not as someone powerful, just as someone who won't let you face this alone." Micro cliffhanger turned resolution. The car pulled into a quiet driveway, hidden from prying eyes. The first chapter of Lena's new life was beginning, but both of them knew the world outside was dangerous, powerful, and relentless. Whatever awaited them, whatever secrets the necklace held. The poor maid who was thrown out of the house had finally met the billionaire president's son, and her life was about to change forever. And this time, nothing could stop it.